Let's be honest. Everything you've probably learned about negotiation is likely wrong. It's not about finding some mythical middle ground or outsmarting the other person. This is about a completely different set of principles, forged in the most intense situations you can imagine, by the FBI's top kidnapping negotiator. And what it reveals is this really counterintuitive truth. The best way to get what you want isn't through logic or force. It's through a radical kind of empathy.
So picture this, a bank robbery in Brooklyn. The police have the place surrounded, SWAT teams are on the roof, and inside, the robbers are unpredictable, violent, literally playing games with people's lives. For years, the FBI's playbook in a situation like this was pretty simple. It was a battle of wills, a logical argument backed up by a massive show of force. But in moments like this one, that whole approach wasn't just failing, it was getting people killed.
And that really gets to the heart of the whole book. It answers this one crucial question. What do you do when logic just completely goes out the window? When the person you're dealing with is driven by pure emotion, by fear, by delusion, how on earth do you find a way forward when they aren't being rational?
See, the old school of thought, it treated negotiation like it was a debate. Whoever made the most logical, rational points would win. But the real world, with all its messy, complicated human emotions, proved that model was just dangerously wrong. It was built on the idea that people are predictable, and that assumption was having fatal consequences.
This big shift, it didn't just happen overnight. It was born from absolute catastrophic failure. Back in 1971, there was a botched hijacking in Jacksonville where agents got impatient, they opened fire, and hostages died. A court later said the FBI had turned a waiting game into a shooting match. And even while the academic world was pushing this rational problem-solving approach, with books like Harvard's Getting to Yes, the agents on the ground knew. They knew they needed something else, a whole new set of tools for dealing with people who were anything but rational. So this new approach, it didn't start with talking. It started with listening. The goal was no longer to argue or to persuade. It was simply to understand the emotional reality of the person on the other side of the table. And this is the absolute core of the book's philosophy. It's a skill called tactical empathy. Now, this is really crucial. Tactical empathy is not about agreeing with someone. It's not about feeling sorry for them. It's about showing them that you see the world from their perspective. It's the simple act of recognizing their feelings, their mindset, and then saying it back to them to build trust.
And this leads us to a really important distinction. Sympathy is about agreement, right? It's saying, I feel for you. Tactical empathy is about acknowledgement. It's just about saying, I see your point of view. You absolutely don't have to agree with someone's position to understand where they're coming from. And in fact, understanding it is the only way you'll ever be able to influence it.
So how do you actually put this stuff into practice? Well, the book offers these incredibly simple but powerful tools. The first is called mirroring, and it sounds almost too simple to work, but all you do is repeat the last few words someone says. It signals that you're paying attention, and it makes them want to say more. The second is labeling. You just give their emotion a name. You say things like, it seems like you're feeling frustrated, or it sounds like you're worried about how this will play out. And the effect of these techniques can be, well, kind of mind-blowing. There was this one study where waiters who just mirrored their customers' orders by repeating them back saw their tips increase by 70%. 70! All because it triggers this subconscious feeling of connection. And while mirroring is sort of working its magic on the subconscious, labeling has a direct neurological effect. It actually changes how our brains work. When we put a name to a fear, we move brain activity from the amygdala, that's the primitive part of the brain that generates fear, to the much more rational prefrontal cortex. You are literally diffusing an emotional bomb with nothing but words. Okay, so once you've used listening to build that initial connection, the next step is to start shaping the conversation. But you're not going to do it with statements or arguments. You're going to do it with questions. And not just any questions, a specific kind of question that's designed to turn your counterpart into a partner for solving your problems. So the first rule here is simple. You have to get away from any question that can be shut down with a simple yes or no. Those are conversation killers. Instead, you're going to ask what the book calls calibrated questions. And these are open-ended questions that almost always start with how or what. And this right here, this might be the ultimate example. When someone makes a demand that's completely unreasonable, instead of saying no, you just calmly ask, how am I supposed to do that? It's like a verbal judo move. It doesn't push back, it pulls them in. And it forces them to stop, to actually consider your side of things, and to think about the problems you're facing. The psychology of why this works is just fascinating. When you ask a how or what question, you're not really asking for information, you're subtly asking for help. And that triggers their natural instinct to problem solve, and it completely shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, they're not your adversary anymore. They're an unwilling collaborator using their mental energy to figure out a solution that works for you.
But really, the deeper purpose behind all of these techniques, the mirroring, the labeling, these calibrated questions, it's not just about winning an argument. It's about something way more important. It's about uncovering the hidden information that's actually driving the entire negotiation.
The book calls these hidden keys black swans. They're the unknown unknowns, those tiny pivotal details that nobody is even aware of at the start. And finding a black swan, like for instance learning that a group of kidnappers in Haiti didn't want a huge ransom, they just wanted some party money for the weekend, can instantly change everything and unlock a situation that seemed totally impossible.
And this right here, this is why the book is about so much more than just tactics. It completely reframes the whole point of negotiation. It stops being about manipulation and starts being about genuine human connection. These tools, at their core, are designed to build relationships first. Getting what you want, well, that's just the happy byproduct of that connection.
So what are the big lessons we can take into our own lives? First, and this is the big one, start every conversation by listening, not talking. Second, label the other person's fears to diffuse them. Third, use those how questions to make them a partner. And finally, always be looking for that information you don't know. Because the real goal isn't just to get them to say yes, it's to get them to say the two magic words, "That's right." That's the moment you know you've been truly understood.
Ultimately, the book leaves us with a single powerful idea. The best way to change someone's mind is to first show them you understand it.